Hello, everyone. You'll see this if you're watching the playback, but I am Hannah Blackwell, and today I am super, super, super excited to be interviewing the amazing Mary Mistry. I cannot even believe today has arrived. This is kind of surreal for me because I'm a huge fan of Mary Mistry, and I just can't even I can't. I'm really pumped. But I guess we can just start if you just want to introduce yourself and let everyone know a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I'm an I choose author from Kent in the UK. So I mostly write paranormal and fantasy stuff. And there's quite a lot of spice and there's quite a lot of adventure, and I really love my world building, so there's a lot of that in there too. I've been writing for like 3 years now, or published for 3 years anyway. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Only 3 years?
In this genre, yeah.
Wow. I don't, because you have so many books out.
Yeah.
That's so surprising to me because I guess I never went back and looked at your publication dates.
Yeah, no, it's a bit, they hide them away anyway, so you can't really see them. But um, I started when I was just in the last year of, I think Americans call it college, we call it uni.
Mhm.
So I started writing the NaNoWriMo after I came out and was one of those, oh God, what do I do now? Sit in the grocery store, scan the items and write. And then I started writing RH, which was all I was really reading at the time. And that was, then I put it out there and it was a bit like, oh, actually people reading it. It's
Yeah,
nice.
because it's good.
Thank
I'm
you.
a huge fan of, yeah, reverse harem, white shoes. I'm trying to say white shoes more, but a lot of times you're still saying that and people don't know what you're talking about yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
and people have interpretations of which one means what. It's impossible to keep straight sometimes.
right. And also a lot of times you do have in your books, you'll have almost like a polyamorous kind of
Yeah, which is
relationships as well.
strictly the same thing, is it? It's a bit different.
Right. Yeah. So, especially in the vampire series,
Yeah.
because you have the Omega who is we don't have the female character being the Omega.
No. I
So, which
thought
I
most,
thought was really cool.
yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we have Kaylee here. I don't know if you know Kaylee. She's awesome. She's a good friend of mine.
Hey.
Just downloaded a bunch of your books.
Oh, hope you like them.
um, she reads a lot of fantasy romance too.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm excited to hear other people's thoughts because I've not I discovered you actually on Kindle Unlimited
Yeah.
just scrolling. I was looking for an RH fantasy romance. I think I was looking specifically for a pirate romance, and I saw the cover of Trader Witch and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that cover is gorgeous."
Yeah.
And I downloaded it and read it and I was hooked, and I read all 3 books in 1 month. And yeah, I don't remember the last time I've done that since I think reading Sarah J. Maas for the first time.
Oh yeah, I love her book. She's so good at that, like fantasy stuff.
Yeah. And so I was just kind of shocked because I don't binge series.
No,
And your books are so bingeable.
thank you.
I'm fangirling over here.
It's fine.
Um, huh?
It's fine. It's nice. I don't really. I'm quite small, like you said, so I don't really get very much of this whole thing. It's be like, oh, okay, someone likes them.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. But you should. What is your favorite series that you've read? Do you have a favorite book or a favorite series of yours?
Ooh, it's difficult because they have different reasons that they could be. Like obviously, the Demon series was the first one that was like, oh my goodness, this could actually happen, and that's all got that kind of emotion tangled up in it. And then Pirate one is my most popular one, and it was really fun to write because I know you probably know Opal, my sarcastic cat. She was absolutely, I was laughing like half the way through her bits, which is great. I really
I
love.
was too.
She's so funny. That kind of sounds like I'm telling myself I'm funny, but she, like, her character was just so fun to write, and it was just amusing like that. It's probably one of my favourites, the pirate ones. My newer ones, the fairy ones, which are a bit more slow burn, are quite good. They're like, I quite like diving into that. It's a bit more of a rest, whereas I have to really think for the vampire ones, which are, I like them, but they're a lot more difficult to write because they're darker. And that's not my normal kind of realm, I guess.
Yeah, they are. The vampire ones are a lot darker than the pirate ones. I have not read the fairy ones, but I'm holding off until Feb to read the fairy ones, and that's when I'm planning on reading them. I think the second one will wait. When does the second one came out already, or is it about to come out?
It's about to come out. So I've just literally given the first draft to my beta readers. I'm hoping that means it will come out November, December time. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's all written. That's mostly done at this point, and then we'll move on to probably the final Daughter of Cain book, which would be good. But yeah, so that's where I'm at now, between books.
For the fairy romance, is that going to be a duology?
It was supposed to be a trilogy, but it's moved into being a quadrilogy, and it could easily become 5 books because, like I said, it's just so easy to write in it. It's just like a little happy, it's my happy fairy place.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to pick that up because the 2 I've read are going to be our trilogies, or I guess the Daughter of Cain one's not finished yet, but I think that's, you said, supposed to be a trilogy.
Yes.
And then, but that you have that first series that's 4 books, the Demon, which the covers, it seriously reminds me of like Demon Smut at Hogwarts, and I'm like, why haven't I read that yet?
Well, the thing I like, the thing about Hogwarts is that it sorts you all out into the houses, doesn't it? And they have that in quite a lot of sort of YA books, like Divergent and what's that other one? I think
a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, quite a big thing, just like where everyone gets sorted in, they find their little niche and their place and they belong. I really love that in those kind of books. So that's where, yeah. And she does have a castle, so I suppose it is kind of Hogwarts, but not really. Bit more spicy.
Yeah, well, and yeah, when I read this summary, I was like, she finds out she's basically a saucy minx, like. Well, so we already touched on this. You said you're currently basically just finished wrapping up the next book in the fairy romance, and then you're basically about to start working on the 3rd book in the Daughter of Cain.
Yeah, so it's I'm rereading. Every time I go back to write the next book in a series, if I've taken a little break, I have to do a whole reread so I don't forget all the things. I make a whole load of notes and everything. So I'm currently midway through Claimed by Blood, and then when I finish that, hopefully in the next week, I'll get started on the 3rd book, which is a bit terrifying because finishing a series is kind of scary.
Do you think you know where you're going, or do you know, like, when you start a series, because your plots are not just romance plots. They're like kind of like Sarah J. Maas, where there's like a lot of adventure, intrigue, danger.
Yeah, I know the vague plot in the, everyone always knows good triumphs over evil and this happens, and I always have like quite intricate character backstories, so I know where, for example, with Val in the Pirate series, I knew exactly where all of his issues were coming from. But I'm really a pantser, so I fly by the seat of my pants, and I write as I go along and it all comes out. And sometimes I'm a bit surprised by how well it actually fits together, which I think there's something out there that's fixing that for me. But yeah, it's a process, but I know a little bit more about where Crowned by Blood is going because it's the last one in the series and it is all starting to come together. I've had a few curveballs thrown my way in the past, though, so I can't say that with too much certainty.
Do you think eventually you're gonna do like audiobooks for any of your series? I know they're super expensive.
Yeah, yeah. It's literally just the expensiveness, but I am really hoping to get. I think I probably start with the pirate series because it is the most popular one. But I was supposed to be my goal for this year, but I never got around to it. So I'm hoping next year I'll start putting them out and finding narrators and all the exciting things. Like it would be so cool, but weird to hear someone reading my books out loud. I can't get my head around it, but I am really excited to start that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely on the list.
That's awesome. Yeah. I I read a lot more from audiobooks now, but
Mm.
I still tend to read my romance on like my Kindle.
Yeah, I'm the
It's like
same. I
the
find
most.
yeah, audiobooks are where I read what I call my adult books, which are ones where I not adult as you would think of it, but adult where I have to actually focus and think about it. And then my Kindle is for all my happy romance books. So, yeah.
So, what are some books that you read then? Like some of your favorite authors, or maybe authors or books that have inspired you?
Mm. Well, I grew up on probably Cresley Cole, Gina Showalter, and Nalini Singh. Like they're pretty much the holy trinity of my teenage years when I probably shouldn't have been reading their books. But they were the sort of thing that I think I stumbled on them accidentally. My friend had one of them and it got lent to me and they were like, oh my goodness, look at this, smart, oh my god. And we were only like 15, so we were like, oh my goodness, smart. And it just sort of it snowballed. That was entirely her fault. From there I will blame her for that. But yeah, I ended up, so they're like the three original. I still keep up with all of those series. So like the Immortals After Dark is like, love that series so
I need
much.
to read that.
It's so good. And then obviously there's quite a few, like now I read a lot more Wide Shoes books. So I really love Katie May, Catherine Moon, Finley Fenn, although she's not really Wide Shoes, but Orcs have been completely like, wow. You didn't know. When I was watching Lord of the Rings as a kid, I never knew I was going to have like an orc book, a completely different genre
Yeah.
later on. But she's amazing. Who else?
Do you
Oh,
think you'll ever write about an orc?
I would like to. It's just
Oh,
because
that's great.
I'm quite slow, but I have all these ideas like, oh, I'd love to write an orc, oh, I'd love to write this, I'd love to write that. I have to cram them all in together to try and make one big book where they're simultaneously an orc and a rock star and a poet and something else.
Yeah. What about do you read like what are some of your favorite like authors or books that are like non-romance? Do you have any?
Well, I
Dog.
read uh my bookshelf.
Yeah.
So buying it for inspiration. Now I have a normal bookshelf. It's just at the very top, and I don't reach for it very often.
I
Um,
read like I know a lot of people that just read romance.
yeah, I can do that, but I do have every now and again I take a break, and I have quite a few old favorites. So obviously, like I read the classic stuff like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and um, was it The Magician by Raymond D. Feist. I've never met anyone that's really read that one. I know it's quite a chunky book, and it's a bit. It's quite a comfort read because I read it when I was quite young. It's something you come back to over and over and oh, I miss this book.
Mhm.
I don't know what else. It's mostly romance, if I'm very honest.
Yeah.
I, just, I like
Um, huh?
I like having a happily ever after in my books.
It's nice. It's like it's comforting to know that you're gonna have that. Though with your books, I never really know. Like I feel like I'm just still like
Uh,
not that I question, it's like but it's like things get so intense sometimes that it's like, oh my God. Like,
I've been told off. My sister actually reads my books, and she's told me you can't kill this person. And I'm like, sorry.
I got so scared for that cat too so many times. Like, oh my gosh. Just I think that cat's still probably one of my favorite characters that you've written. What do you have a favorite character that you've written? Heroine or hero or otherwise?
Difficult.
I know you've written a lot.
Very different. I did really like writing. What's her name? Can't even remember her name now. I like Nellie and Lulu, like the twins from my Rice College series. They're really like, I just really liked having that sort of balance of, in that series, there's quite a lot of, oh, I found my sort of girl tribe and they're supportive and they have like really good friends sort of scenarios with each other. And I think that's like one of the nicest part of those books is that Lilith's not just constantly enjoying the benefits of seven mates. She's got
Wait, 7?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've not read that series yet.
No, their caste system is all based on the 7 deadly sins. So, well, you've got to use all of them.
Oh my gosh. I need to read that like now.
It's a challenge when you get to that number. There's too many and you're like, oh God, how does this position work?
Right. Like, what is that like trying to figure out scenes? Because you do it so well too. Like, I remember, was it like towards the end of the pirate romance one? Like there was a big bed.
Yeah, that's the key part. There has to be a big bed, or wherever they choose to go. No, it's quite funny because I don't always get it right, which is why I have such wonderful beta readers. Because sometimes I leave things like, I'm never going to live this down, but I did actually forget a butt plug in one of my scenes, and I never mentioned it again. So for the rest of the book, it was probably she was walking around with this thing inside her. He never got it out, and it was just, oh my gosh. So I don't always get it right the first time, which is why having critique like that is really important.
Was that caught by a beta reader?
Yeah, it's just like, this is really good scene, but where did that go? And I'm like,
yeah, you don't even think about things like that, right? Like,
yeah, and there's always the one person who's like, yes, you forgot this scene. Poor Lilith's been walking around for years and years and they've never taken this out.
That's amazing. So we touched on this before, like when you first came on here. I hadn't realized that it had only been 3 years now that you've been publishing these romance books, but you said you've kind of published something else?
Yeah. So I've always been into writing. When I was like 16, I wrote this sort of epic fantasy quadrilogy, and my mum was really into me, like, you need to get this published, you need to get it out there, you need to apply to all these agents. And obviously shy teenage awkward book girl self was like, no, I don't want it anywhere near anybody else. Kind of, nobody's going to like this. And eventually I managed to sort of settle it off by going, look, it's up on the internet now, no one's bought it, so it's not that good. That's great. And it was a complete flunk. It's still up there somewhere in the realm.
Somewhere out there in the,
yeah, it was written by a teenager. It had no editor. It was a bit of a mess, bless it. But it was up there for like 4 years before I decided to start writing romance. And then I wasn't even going to publish that, but a very good friend of mine died, and she really liked the books and she was really supportive, and she was like, why aren't you publishing these? And I was like, you know what, it's her birthday, we'll stick it up there, whatever, screw it, it's up there, it's going.
wow.
Yeah, this happened. So yeah, it was a bit of a mental journey.
It sounds like it. So did you always want to be writing?
I did, but I went through, like, I think when you're a creative sort of child, a creative teenager, a lot of people always say to you, oh, you're not going to make any money with that, you're not gonna be able to live off that, you should do maths. For record, I can't add 3 and 3 together. I can't do
I'm not the best at, I can do mental math, but the other stuff is,
they stuck me in trigonometry and algebra, and my whole time my head was loading, and it was awful. And I think I was about to go to uni to study engineering when I decided I really disliked this teacher. So I'm gonna screw it. I'm gonna go and study game design, and that completely wrecked the entire career plan that I think everyone in my life had for me. So I ended up studying video games
Wow.
and wrote books in my spare time, and then it all sort of crashed together.
So do you still do that? Do you work in video game creation or?
No, my other half does, but I couldn't really. I like art, but I don't have the eye. I think is what I learned from it. I liked it. I loved doing it, but some of it looked like a total mess.
Do you write full time or is there like
So
something else you do as well?
I used to write and work in a grocery store as well. And recently I had to quit because I'm now a carer as well. So I do caring and I write at the same time, which is it's quite good. I really like it. It's got a good balance between the two. So I'm not always sat there stuck at the screen going, oh my God, I can't work this scene out. Nothing's working. Limbs are in the wrong places, etc.
That's so funny. My brother-in-law does video games too. That's what he does he's been doing that for a while.
Mm.
Um sorry. I'm like I've lost myself in my little notes here. Oh, one thing that I did want to ask you was tropes. I don't know if you think a lot about tropes when you're writing a book, or if so, are there like certain tropes that you always like to put in?
I wish I could say I was that organized. No, I don't really. The thing is, I think once you have read enough, and I do read quite a lot, the tropes become so ingrained that I don't think about them as such. As I don't automatically think, okay, I'm starting this book, I want to add in secret baby, I want to add in like billionaire, add in all of this stuff. It just sort of it comes out anyway because I like those sort of tropes. There are tropes that I wouldn't like. I can't read, so I can't write them. But there are other tropes that like I quite like the sort of bondage play tropes and that kind of thing. There's always one controlling one, there's always one really soft one who's kind of sweet and nerdy. And I like those kind of tropes, and like I do love a bit of angst as well, so that always
Yeah,
works.
so far I've noticed there's always at least one relationship that kind of like is super angsty and just doesn't fit for a good long while, or you know what I'm saying? I guess I've only finished one series, but I've
Yeah.
seen a little bit of that kind of like style in relationships in the vampire one as well. And I love that. I like that it's like some characters kind of get together earlier and some just take a really long time and just basically are enemies for most of the series.
I love an enemies to lovers. That is one of probably my favorites. And the other thing is like I think as well, in normal relationships, some people just do take longer to get together. I know there is insta love. There are definitely people who I know who have met and within 3 months are like, yes, I'm engaged. And but then there are people who are friends for ages or enemies for ages, and then they get together, and when they do, it's always worth it, and it's always really sweet. And I love that kind of the difference. That's one of the best things about White Shoes is that you don't have to pick one so much. Yeah.
And it's different too because a lot of White Shoes books, they kind of all get together kind of at the same time kind of thing, oftentimes. But yours are so like each relationship is so individual
Mm.
and they all develop at different times.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Kaylee has a good point. I love your covers. What's that process like?
It depends on the book. So sometimes there's actually groups where authors can sit like these artists that are really amazing. Like they're very talented, like all of these people who can create literally something you're going to see about that size on a screen and make you want to go, oh my God, I've got to read that. And they put them up and they'll put them on sale or things. So my first ones were actually commissioned from Fiverr. The first Demon Swans ones, I got them recovered recently. And they were literally $50. because that was all I could afford at the time. So it was like, that's what I'm going with. And then later on, when you can see, like, sometimes they go on sale, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got to get that, it's on sale. It's the same, it becomes really addictive for authors, actually. I think a lot of us have hoards where we're like, I could write a book for that. All limited
Oh,
by
really? Like you buy the covers. Like you
yeah.
just buy whatever oh, I was assumed it was like commissioned or like
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. But most of the time I sort of see one and go, oh my gosh, I have a story for that. And then I have like 5 or 6 sitting in my hold. I know some people have like 20 or 30, and you're like, God, how do you write so fast? How do you get them all out there? But what generally happens is, so for the first Traitor Witch one, for example, with her standing there, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a pirate book right there. I want to write a pirate book, that's happening. And then the second one was a commission, and the third one was a commission. And the third one I really love because the artist, who's actually a really good friend of mine now, she managed to fit in the actual sigils I designed and put them on the cover for Pirate Witch, which I was just like, it was really sweet of her.
the sigils like on her back.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me see if I can click on this so people, I don't know if they're, my phone is not like great, but this is the cover she's talking about.
Yeah.
I love that cover. So
It's,
basically the first book you got the cover and it inspired the book and then the rest of the covers for the series.
yeah.
Wow.
Whereas for Daughter of Cain, it was a bit different because I'd had my eyes on the covers for a while. They were like a set. And I had a vampire idea in my mind that I'd already started writing. And I was like, okay. And then eventually they went on sale, and I was like, oh, I can afford them now, which is great because I was like, can't afford them yet. And then they went on sale. I was like, they're mine. I'm getting them. And they sat there for ages. Things do tend to sit in the bowels of your computer until the book's ready and everything, because it takes a lot longer, for me anyway, to write a book than like these artists make their wizardry. I swear some of them managed to do it in like a week, and it's like, oh my gosh, how do you do that how quickly? And yeah, I'm in awe of artists, if you can't tell.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
especially there's a lot of technology involved in it nowadays too. So for the Daughter of Cain one too, I know someone said to me, so it must have been the same artist. Was that the same artist that did the Catherine Moon?
Oh no. So what happened here was, it's the same stock model. So all the covers apparently are made up of these photographs that are sold to the artists from photographers. And so happens that this lady who's on both of those covers has this really gorgeous set of photographs that is obviously quite popular. And you don't really notice it so much as a reader, but there are quite a lot of covers where the stock is the same. But basically, when Catherine published A Lady of Rooksgrove Manor, I was like, oh my God, we've got the wrong cover. I've got the wrong cover model. I can't step on Catherine's cover model. So I messaged her in a panic, like, oh my God, do you want me to change the head? And she was like, no, it's fine. They're completely different covers. And I was like, oh, okay, if you're really sure. But I have had people who message me like, how dare you steal Catherine Moon's cover? And I was like,
No.
I really wouldn't. I would like never ever, because I think she's an amazing writer. But yeah, so that's happened quite a few. I think there were.
I'm surprised that you don't see that happening like all the time then if everyone's buying from the same, if there's
Yeah,
like the stock photos and then the artists are using the stock photos and then like, you know.
Yeah, so there was a Scythe or something. There was a Reaper phase like a year ago or so. Everyone had the same Scythe, but no one noticed. And then there was I can't remember what they were, but there were 2 books with the exact same cover model. She just had different coloured hair on the other ones, and you don't notice because you don't really look at them. But I think because they were so unaltered on both Catherine's and my cover, it was just a lot more noticeable. Yeah, I've seen the comment, we're going to bed.
No.
They Lego people, they can just swap them. It's really amazing. I was perfectly happy to pay for that to happen, but thankfully Catherine was like, oh no,
I
they're cool.
didn't even notice. I thought they were like the same kind of style of woman, but to me they looked different enough because they're like flipped. And
Yeah,
then because of the way the artists, maybe was it two different artists that used the same stock?
yeah, I think there must have
The way
been.
they did them so differently with their colors and tones and the amount of like shadows and stuff, everything that was done to those stock photos that I
Yeah,
didn't even notice. It was
and
brought to
Catherine's
me.
series as well. Like I think because mine all focused on the same character, and then oh, hi.
Yeah.
I'm so distracted by the little scrolling
Oh,
now.
this
No,
is your first live too, right? So you're
no, the Catherine's are all different characters. So her next one was about Esther, I think, which is a company of themes,
I'm
which was
I'm
you
reading
read
that
it.
one right now.
I'm not spoiling it, but that was so good. That was my plane ride.
That was your what?
The whole plane ride, I was just sitting there going, "This is too spicy for a plane," but I'm enjoying it.
I love that she really went there in that one. Like the first one was like monster romance, but this one is like monster romance.
Definitely, yeah. I love all her stuff. She's really good. Like as a writer, I think she's amazing. Like the way she makes it so vivid, especially like the Lola and the Millionaires. I don't know if you've read that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I like her books a lot. I like yours better, but I like hers a lot. You just have you have a way of just like really pulling, at least for me as a reader, like my heartstrings where I'm just like freaking out about what's going to happen. Like, is everyone going to survive? Like, how are they going to get through this? Like, I sit there, I'm like, how is this going to like play out? And also just like the world building is
Yeah,
pretty big, especially how I felt like it got quite large with the Pirate Witch series, especially like you were bringing in like um the sirens side of the world and like I mean they were traveling on boat to these different cities and docks all over, right?
yeah,
And it got pretty big. So I've never seen that with a reverse harem because usually you're trying to fit in the relationship development with however many different relationships, right? So that takes up so much space in a book. But I think maybe because you concentrate on the same group for multiple books,
yeah. We
there's
see how.
that as well. But
Yeah,
you
have
somehow
you?
do it all of it with the world building and everything. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
Neither do I. Yeah, no, the Pirate Witch one got a bit out of control. I was like, I'm going to a different port. Oh, a new city. Oh, a new city. And my notebook for that one is literally like it was once a beautiful, flat, neat book, and now it's been completely stuffed full of notes and little post-its and
Wow.
everything. But yeah, and then it got even bigger and it ended up linked to the Beyond the Fairy Gate, which is the new one.
Nuh-uh.
No? Yeah,
I
they're
didn't know
linked.
that. I'm really I haven't read that one yet. So
Oh,
there's like a link between the two.
so they're in the same universe, so different realms. So you remember Keir from
Yeah.
Neil's, his world is where Beyond the Fairy Gate is set.
I had no idea. Oh, I'm so excited to read that. Oh my gosh.
I like doing that. I like putting little Easter eggs of all of them into it. So there was
Oh,
which
you have
you
me like, I'm like, okay, can I go? I'm gonna go pick this up now.
no, this Daughter of Cain is like referenced in Liar Witch, I want to say. The frost fangs appear in a particular scene. I'm not going to spoil it, but
uh, uh,
I'm not going to spoil it.
yeah, I'm gonna have to buy these and reread that so I can find that one too. Because I didn't know. Loving
When
all
you
the types of fae. Oh, sorry, what? Sorry.
if you read the demon ones, then you'll find another couple as well. So yeah.
I didn't know that. Loving all the types of fae and beyond the fairy gate. Ooh,
Yeah.
what kinds of fae can I expect?
Okay, so it started off as going to be just Irish, but then it ended up as everything. So we've got a red cap, we've got Barguests, we've got Leshy, brownies. Basically all of I even went like into Europe and I ended up using kikimoras, which are kind of Eastern European house fae and swamp fae, and I just really I got very into it. I'm not gonna lie, I ended up making an entire Wikipedia for all
And
the
you said it's going to be like 4, possibly 5 books?
it needed it. It was just there's just so much in
Oh
that.
gosh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Linking a book universe. Yeah, totally, Maria. I love that. I don't I had no idea. I didn't even think to look for that when I was picking up the first Daughter of Cain book.
Yeah.
Because there are vampires obviously in the Trader
Yeah.
Witch series. I just didn't think to look to see if there was a connection. Wow. Will you do a big joined up map at any point?
It
Well,
wouldn't
do you
probably
have a map in your book? I'm trying to think.
yeah, I do all my own maps though. Yeah, they come, some of them are at different timelines. So Nils's books happen before Rosa's books, and Evie's is technically set, I think, quite a while after both of them. So, but it's in a completely different world, obviously. So, yeah.
Okay. Like things are like opening up and I'm like
And
have you ever seen that meme of the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and he's like at the board and there's like the lines everywhere and he's like that's me
basically how
right
it
now.
works. No, they are all linked, but it would take a lot of explaining and probably a corkboard with strings to explain.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you do all your own maps. How do you do that? Like drawing or digital?
So I have this little app for my iPad. I'm not it's like Procreate. It's just my little Apple Pencil. It's something that I do at the very beginning that helps me set it in my mind, like how the world's going to work and everything. Like, oh, these people live from this area, so they're going to have like this plant. It happened a lot more in the Nick Nevin universe, where obviously Kier's Fae are Winter Fae. They're from the mountains. They don't have this. They don't have that. They've got to survive with this, and it like informs the whole culture based on the geography, which is, I get way too into it. Really, I
You
shouldn't.
don't because it's amazing because yeah, because now I'm remembering, yeah, with Kira, every time he entered or whatever, you can feel it got like colder, like or if his emotions got out of control. But it's things like that that are why your world building is the best. It's the best world building I've ever experienced in a reverse harem. There's actually like intense detail, so that makes sense. Drawing a map would help you to kind of like start that process. I just never noticed a map, I think, because when you sometimes when you open up like on Kindle Unlimited a book, it kind of goes straight to the first page or whatever. I just don't remember if
Daughter of Cain doesn't have one because it's set obviously in regular New York and then across the normal world pretty much. But there is one for the Deadwood and all the others really.
like I need to go back and look at that too. Um Yay, I love Easter eggs in books. Do you have a suggested reading order?
I would say probably starting with either my Demon series or my Vampire series, so Vice College or Daughter of Cain, and then moving on to Traitor Witch and the Pirate, and then moving on to the Fae at the end, probably would make the most sense. But it doesn't have to be read like that at all because they're Easter eggs, not plot devices. So you might even catch a couple of recurring characters if you're really looking for them.
I remember I got so attached immediately to the Trader Witch series because I really connected with how you integrated her like abilities, her like witch abilities with like with actual like modern day and classic witchcraft with like sigils and the herbs and things like that. Did you do a lot of research to do that? Because it was done in such a realistic way while still being fantasy with the way those
Yeah,
powers play out.
my entire bookshelf, I have a real love of research books. So I do tend to spend quite a lot of time doing the whole world building beforehand. So I think my Vice series, one of the things is that the language of flowers comes into it, which is like this Victorian idea that all the flowers have different meanings. And I have about 3 books on the language of flowers. And for trade to which I have about 4 herbal guides and 1 to crystals. It got a bit out of control. I was like, I can't find this herb in this book. I need this herb. And it just, yeah, it spirals. I don't even regret that it spirals. I can't even lie. I like it too much. That's my
It's
favorite.
what originally hooked me to it. Like I got into it before even like the romantic aspects because I think it even takes like for any kind of romance to happen, I think it takes at least like a halfway through that first book, I feel like. And I
Yeah,
would maybe a third. It takes a little bit though for it to get going.
yeah,
And
yeah. At the beginning, she's pretending she's celibate, isn't she?
yeah, she's pretending she's celibate.
Yeah.
And so I got actually originally hooked by your world building and by the way you were doing the lunar witchcraft basically.
Mm.
And that's what really hooked me. So yeah, keep the research up because that's I was like I had never read someone at that point. I've read a few that have done some really good witchcraft research for their books. Cascade is one, but that's not like a romance.
Yeah.
That's a like an urban fantasy mystery.
Oh,
But her and you, I feel like have done the best witchcraft representation. I felt like you did it. I liked it. Like the way she would activate her sigils or the difference between like a regular tattoo and actually like having the sigil tattooed onto you and like the pain level and like all of that and just her having to have a separate room where she prepared her herbs and grew her herbs and did all of that too. I thought it was like pretty cool. But I've like completely got off track with my questions. Sorry.
okay.
Let's see. Have you ever considered writing a book? So I know you've written one like when you're a lot younger. Have you ever thought about writing a book that wasn't like a Why Choose style?
Um, I have written an MF once,
Oh, really?
but it's not out there. It's something like this is the thing. I have about 12 unfinished books sitting on my hard drive, but they're all different things. Like they're palette cleansers, or I'll do one for NaNoWriMo. I don't know if you know about NaNoWriMo,
Yeah.
where you try. Yeah, so I did a whole like there was an alien MF that will never see the light of day. That's in there somewhere. There's a high
Can I
fantasy.
see it? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I lots of different genres, so I wouldn't say never to anything, except maybe I probably wouldn't be very good at crime and that kind of level. I find it really difficult to read those, so I think I probably wouldn't have a very good reference to write them. But yeah, I do think I could write anything in general, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be fantasy either. Like I would like to try contemporary maybe in the future, but I do struggle with real life. I'm reality challenged and self-confessed. So
Reality challenged. I like that.
it's a good excuse. It works for a lot of things. Why did you not do this common sense thing? Well, reality challenged.
Right. That's good. So I was gonna ask you, do you feel because partially because I didn't realize how many books you've put out in 3 years, but do you ever feel pressure like to be publishing? I mean, so there's self-published authors that are putting out like 5 to 10 books a year on Kindle Unlimited. Do you ever feel like pressure to keep up with that?
Yeah, all the time. I have nothing but awe for like there are writers out there, really good writers who can write like 10,000 words a day, no, I don't know how they're doing it because I need some of whatever they're drinking. But I personally, I think I need a bit more of a break. I can't write that many words and feel that what I've written is any good. And also, like, I've seen quite a lot of people who do release like a book every other month, and then a couple of months down the line, you hear, oh, they've got really bad burnout, or oh, they're really struggling, and you're like, oh, maybe it's not such a good idea to push myself in that. And I would love to be able to do it. Like, I literally have nothing but awe for those people, but I don't think I'm ever going to be that person. So I'm just going to have to learn to love what I've got, which is probably
Publish often. Like, it's not like you're waiting 2 years for a book, like, you know.
Yeah, it's not as long as it would be in traditional publishing, but I would still consider myself slow. At my maximum is usually about 2,000 words on a good day, which is nothing compared to a lot of people. But equally, it's a bit better than some others, I guess. And I'm trying
a lot, I think.
Because I used to do all week, no stopping, and it was like getting really, oh no, I need a break. So I've tried to give myself weekends off like a normal person recently, which is, it's actually helping quite a lot.
Wow, I think 2000's a lot. So yeah, so many of us readers are also reality challenged, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm definitely reality challenged. I don't read a lot of contemporary for that reason.
Yeah.
I know that we touched on this a little bit before, like with tropes, but the 2 series that I've read so far both had like super strong female main characters, like badass witches, you know? And do you think that that's because I haven't read the other 2 series, is that something that you'll continue with, having like the super strong female main character?
Not necessarily. So Lilith's books, the Demon's Horns, Vice College, she is like, she starts off fairly girl next door, and I think like that's more realistic for her as a character. She was going into Demon Academy, she wasn't going to be like the best at everything, and she still isn't really at the end. She's like fairly average. Not average. It's like she's the chosen one and everything. Like, I love that trope too. But she progresses and she has to like learn to trust herself a lot more. And the same with my Fairy Gate series. Rose is probably the most timid character I've ever written, but she's coming from a place where that is the only kind of way she could have been. So it wouldn't have made sense for her to be as badass and confident as Nilsa is, or even Evie. Like, she was shattered a bit by what she had to endure before the book. She had to work hard to like regain who she was. Rose is going to have to work doubly as hard because she has to, you know, grow a backbone. But she's going to be fun. I like watching that journey play out in all of my characters. Like, oh, look how they've moved here, and if they don't grow, then it's not a good book.
Yeah. So what do you think then, like, you'll be doing moving forward? Because I know you have the fairy series that you are going to be continuing for a while, but you're about to finish the vampire series. You have 1 book left, right?
Yeah.
Do you know like where you're heading after that with the series?
I have quite a lot. With the vampire series specifically, or just in general?
Oh, like other series like that haven't been.
I have a thing. What happens quite a lot is I'll get an idea or I'll get a specific scene. So this happened for Evie's books, the vampire ones. Like the first scene where she's in the mausoleum and they're all going down there and like, oh shit, she's in bad shape. Sort of that level. That scene in particular, that hit me when I was writing Traitor Witch. So that was quite a bit before that. And I had to write it down and it gets sent to the store cupboard. And then when I finally get a chance, they come out. So I have a store cupboard of like random ideas, the 2 a.m. thoughts that keep you up before you get to sleep, and the ones that hit you in the shower, and they all go in this like notebook, and they're all waiting. So I'm not going to run out of ideas. I have quite a few. Yeah, I'm quite excited to write a lot of them, but how many, like, I can't write them all at once. It's one of my biggest disappointments, is only having one pair of hands. But yeah, I've got quite a lot of ideas. I'll probably get to try out quite a few of them, hopefully.
Do you think you'll stick, like the next one that you'll have coming out, you think it'll stick with like the fantasy paranormal kind of genre?
Can't give too much away, so I'm gonna leave you on that one.
Shower brainstorms are the best, 100%. This, I've never published anything, but I write very occasionally, and it's the weirdest thing, the random times that ideas like pop up.
The most inconvenient time, without fail, when you don't have a notebook or your phone anywhere near you, and you're like, oh, I've got to remember, and then if you leave it 10 minutes, you'll have forgotten. It literally never fails to happen.
Yeah.
And then it's changed, so
Huh.
the ideas do change quite a bit. So yeah, it's good. It gives you time to process.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciated you coming for this interview. I was shocked when you said yes, because I'm like a nobody. And
Me too, it's fine.
But this was a huge honor, like being able to interview one of my favorite authors. Like I can't even say thank you enough for allowing me to have you on my channel. This was a lot of fun, and I hope you'll let me interview you again sometime, because I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more questions after I read the Demon series and get into the Fairy series as well.
Maybe. Not going to spoil anything.
Huh?
I'm not going to spoil anything, but you might be.
But thank you guys all for coming, and I put all of Mary Mistry's information down below in the description. I have her website and the link to her like Amazon page, where you can check out her books. All of your books are on Kindle Unlimited, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So if you'll have Kindle Unlimited, you can check out her books there. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Anything I forgot?
No, thank you for having me, and thank you for introducing me to BookTube, because I had no idea BookTube was even a thing, and now I'm massively addicted. So yeah, thank you.
Hopefully you'll still have time to write. There's a lot of content on here. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming by and watching our interview. And make sure to download a Mary Mistry book, because you won't regret it. Bye, guys.